about leading a healthy pregnancy. So number one, it's so important that you're staying hydrated. When you are pregnant, you are increasing your blood supply and also the blood supply to the fetus as well. So in order to do that, it's really important that you have adequate amounts of fluid on board. Number two, it's really important to focus on iodine-rich foods. Now, iodine is a micronutrient which isn't really spoken about that much, but plays a really important role in pregnancy. It's super important for the cognitive development of the fetus. Iodine can be quite difficult to get on a vegan diet since its main sources come from white fish and milk products as well. You can find it in things like seaweed and prunes, but what I would say is if you are following a vegan diet, it's important to consume milk alternatives which are fortified with iodine, and not all milk alternatives are, so do make sure you're reading the labels where possible. Number three is making sure you're consuming enough fibre. So if you are pregnant or you've been pregnant, you might be familiar with symptoms such as constipation or bloating. And these occur really when we start to make space for the baby and we find that things in our body all shift around. And that can really impact the gut. We really want to ensure that we're having regular bowel movements and that we're trying to keep that constipation and the bloating at bay. And fibre can really help to do that. So the recommendations are to consume around 30 grams of fibre per day. And the best sources really come from plant foods. So things like fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains are great, and beans and pulses too. The best way to do this is just add them simply into the meals that you're already making. So try to ensure that each meal you have at least 1 to 2 portions of vegetables. Try to incorporate more beans into things like salads, soups, stews. If you're making things like burgers, you can throw some beans in there to bulk out the mince as well. The same goes for mince-based dishes, so bolognese and cottage pie too. Number 4, really focus on your iron sources. So iron is super important during pregnancy. You may be familiar in the early days where you just feel absolutely exhausted a lot of the time. And iron is vital for helping us to sustain our energy levels throughout pregnancy, especially as we're increasing our blood volume and the blood volume delivered to the fetus. We need more iron in order to carry more oxygen in the blood as well. So the best sources are going to come from things like green leafy vegetables, red meat if you eat that. Things like tahini and nuts can also be a great source of iron too. And finally, ensure that you're eating regularly. So because pregnancy requires so much energy, it requires a constant delivery of food. And especially in the early days where you might be experiencing nausea, it is important that you are providing your body with some fuel. So try not to skip meals where possible. Try not to follow any intermittent fasting protocols. It's not healthy during pregnancy. It's not recommended. And it's also important, because you require so many more nutrients, that you're eating regularly in order to give yourself that opportunity to deliver those nutrients too. I really hope that was helpful and has given you a few tips for some food for thought during your pregnancy.